back to the Nerdy Neighborhood, everyone, and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and we've got another indie comic creator cooking with us tonight. We got Jessica Maison of Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Words are hard, right?
Yes, words are really hard.
What are we even doing here? I don't know how I did this. So.
Existing is complicated. Yeah, no, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming on. I'm always happy to make time for really great people like you, and also just really freaking creative stories. This is probably one of the most creative stories I've heard recently, and it's a nice spin and a take on some things that people are already familiar with. And right now you got on Kickstarter, which is super exciting because that's my favorite thing to promote on here are Kickstarters and Zoop and like crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah, they're fun.
They are always my favorite. So I'll put the cover on here first, and then I'll show the Kickstarter campaign for everybody. But this is Mary Shelley's School for Monsters. La Llorona? How do you say those two L's?
Okay, so it's La Llorona. And
La Llorona. Okay.
La Llorona. Like, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not the easiest for sure.
Well, to be fair, I get very nervous when I try to speak in other languages because I'm like, I'm going to get it wrong. And even if I wouldn't get it wrong, I butcher it because I get nervous.
Well, I mean, I'm nervous right now. We're going to get someone calling in. And Jessica is not right either. After years.
We have somebody behind the scenes keeping track. They haven't barged in yet, so it's okay.
Okay, good. So that's La Llorona in the Machine, which is the first Mary Shelley School for Monsters graphic novel. There's going to be 2 for sure because we're 30 pages into the second one. So
yay!
Yes. Spoiler, yes. No.
Well, there you go, guys. So you'll get more. So now you can already be fully invested. Your book will not get canceled like your favorite TV show. So that's the good news. So what is this about? Because for people that hear the name and are familiar with it but can't place it back from their English classes or whatever, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, the original one, all that great stuff. So why is Mary Shelley having a school for monsters?
Okay, well, all right. Well, and also like Mary Shelley's mother was a big feminist author as well, and kind of a radical. Both her parents were, and her mother died at 12 days after she gave birth to Mary. So Mary Shelley never met her mother, and I was kind of, and so her whole life she would sometimes she would go to a graveyard and she would read her mother's book by her mother's grave, and she would read it over and over again. And she was, always searching for that connection with her mom, and I think wanted to do something great and be a great, story, tell a great story like her mother. And I was really kind of moved by a young child being in a graveyard looking for that connection. That part of Mary Shelley's true story has always stuck with me when I was younger, but really stuck with me as a mother, and the idea of my children, me being gone and having them trying to find this connection with me. And that of course led me to the supernatural, because it's Frankenstein and you're in a graveyard, and I'm a huge fan of monsters, and obviously I think Mary Shelley was as well. I mean, at least she liked writing about her monster. And so I got this idea. It was during the pandemic, and I just suddenly was thinking about the young Mary Shelley in the graveyard. And I was like, oh my God, what if she actually had this real experience that was the repressed memory that made her write Frankenstein, right? And so my idea is that the young, she's not Mary Shelley at that moment. Obviously, for the nitpickers out there, she's Mary Godwin. But there's a storm. She goes into a mausoleum. She comes into this, comes in contact with this occult mad scientist, Dr. M. And he has this Book of the Dead, which is the Necronomicon, but it's not like the Necronomicon you've ever seen. It is like a cuddly version of it living, called Necro, also a she. We were not a he. Yeah, so the Necro is a she. And when the Mary Shelley comes into contact with Necro, a powerful spell is cast, and she's bound to the book, but her human self, she splits in half, and she splits into 2 actual real versions, not in half. And one goes on to write Mary Shelley, goes to write Frankenstein, and she's human. And then the monster version of her, Shell, continues on as an immortal teenager who rescues other monsters and eventually creates this safe haven for them called the School for Monsters. And she kind of gathers a team. And I had this idea because like Mary Shelley used to kind of say that Frankenstein came to her, the story came to her kind of in a vision or in a dream. And I like the idea that maybe it was a repressed memory. And so I took the repressed memory as actually, this is what the real story is. And Shell is going on this adventure, the life like an immortal, like for infinity until she's dead. And I don't think she dies. So that's the thing. And and so then I just wanted to have a lot of fun. I wanted to have fun with these old, like the Necronomicon is H.P. Lovecraft. Dr. M is loosely based on Dr. Moreau, and he's real arch, and and then I wanted to have my version of Mary Shelley's monster, but totally different, like not quite like we've ever seen before. That's Frank. And then I wrote this book in general because I've always been kind of obsessed with these female characters, whether they're in history or in mythology or in folk tales, scary stories, and how they're maligned, they're treated unfairly, and they're typically women a lot of the times. So like with Mary Shelley, La Llorona, Medusa is a character. She's at the school. And I have other ones, but those were three of the central characters I really wanted to deal with right away. And with La Llorona, it was, her story is so tragic. She drowned her children, but it's usually like you hear about her, like she's this wailing woman who drowned her children, but you don't hear the backstory of the folktale as much, which is like, she started this love affair with this well-to-do man. They were really in love with each other. His parents wouldn't let them be together. They were raising their children. And then, the parents just kept pushing to separate them and have him marry someone who was of better means and was worthy of him, I guess. And he, at some point, just put her out in the street and with her children, and they were starving, and he wouldn't help. I mean, it's not a true story, obviously, so I don't want to. But I wanted to kind of think about that component where it wasn't just that La Llorona was this horrible mother, this evil villain. She was like, there was probably mental illness, there was desperation, there was like her children were starving. And the idea that there's a different version of this story, not necessarily that what she did was right, but there's a different version, and maybe she doesn't need to be punished for all eternity for that. And so, And so that we play around with that. And that's kind of my long pitch there of that book. But I mean, no, I love it. Yeah. And so that's why, and I got this idea, and strangely enough, I got this idea right around when I was doing, I did a short in Nightmare Theater, which was an anthology done by Clay Adams and David Schrader. And Anna was doing the art for one of the other writers on that. And I just was flipping through, how you get the preview, and I was flipping through the pages, and I saw the way she did fire. It was so random. It was just the light. And I was like, yeah, I really, you know what? I think she could do this. I think that this would be cool. And I knew Home was coming out, and I was excited for that. And I reached out to her, and I said, you want to do a short with me for Cthulhu's Hard to Spell, and we can submit it. And I'll submit the pitch with you attached as the artist. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And we started doing some character design while we were waiting to hear back if we got accepted. And in the character designs, it was just like, I sent the breakdowns down. She'd send me the art. I mean, I had hardly any notes. So you just knew you were like, and I mean, I had a little, we always have notes, but like, I just felt like it was crazy because she's in Poland and I'm here, and we're like two different language. I mean, and we're communicating, and it's just working. It was just working right away. And so we did that. We did that short, Forever Home, and then after that, we did our contract, and we just went, and we've been doing art together now since then. So, I mean, we've been doing the story together since then, and it's been just really great. And I really like working with her. And I think she's amazingly talented, and And I couldn't have brought this book to life without her. So it's, that's like such a great collaboration. And I don't know, I can't say enough good things about Anna. I wish I could actually be around her and talk to her, but yeah, it's a weird thing, but that's how it is sometimes. So
it is. Yeah. I hear that so much from like different comic book creators, whether you're writing, artists, lettering, colors, inks, pencils, whatever, like everybody's getting so great at collaborating from far away, which is really cool. And everybody's like, dang, I wish we could be in the same room, because imagine what we could do in the same room.
Yeah. Well, maybe you would hate each other. You never know, right?
I mean, you just don't know. Or maybe, you don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe it's like moving in with your friend. Maybe you just see all the flaws that you'd hate. Dear God.
Yeah. It wouldn't be that you hated each other, but maybe the magic. Maybe there's a little bit of mystery. You don't like know each other so well. Don't know how the other one chews and stuff like that, You don't know.
Yeah, right. It can be so weird, and I completely agree with you in that Anna Weisscheck, she is so freaking talented. I was first introduced to her from Home, from Image Comics, Julia Anta writing it. So phenomenal. She just has such a way, especially I think with emotions. I remember really getting that in Home, and she doesn't convey them like hardly any other artist does.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. I know for some people her style can sometimes be a little different than they're used to. I think it's magical. It is different, and I think that's part of what makes it magical.
Yeah.
You also had go ahead.
Oh no, I mean she's just very inspired. You can tell she's very inspired by like, earlier manga and stuff like that, but it's also got a little Western vibe. It is very different than most art that I've seen, and Home is even different than Mary Shelley, which is crazy, but yeah, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, reading Home, I wouldn't have expected to see this.
Yeah.
Which I think speaks to her talent as well. The fact that, these are both still her own style, but they're done in different ways to match what the story is.
Yeah. And I think in Home, and I could be wrong, she penciled Home, and I don't know if she inked it. I can't remember, but
I can't recall either. Be honest.
I don't think, but I know she didn't color it. And this one, she does all three actually, which is probably plays into that a little bit as well. But even the drawing is so different, and just so interesting. And like, then she did God Killer early in her career, which is completely different and totally, so it is very, there's a big, it's amazing. It's great. She has a lot more titles than that. Those are just the three that are in my head right now. So
yeah, no, 1,000%. You also have Joel Rodriguez, who does the letters and the design, along with some other assist people kind of helping and assisting all that cool stuff, which I mean, it looks great. I mean, I'm trying to pull it up again, just from these pages, like the lettering looks great here. It looks very smooth. Even pages like this, just putting a quote on, like this alone is so beautifully done. Like it is hard to put a quote on there and make it look like it belongs there, rather than I just threw it there on Word. You know what I mean? But it's so seamless. And
I know it's so I had to have the quotes, and they made it look really great. So yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, and then like the colors here too, like they just blow my mind with how good they are. And the fact that this is a hardcover, these are going to look so good in a hardcover.
And they do, because I looked at it quite a bit. I'm sitting here holding it. But yeah, it's so interesting, because as you go through the story, like in the prologue, in the first 30 pages, it's even a muted, because it's back 200 years. She does she mutes it a little bit. And so it'll change when you go to the modern day, and you'll see the color pop a little different. And just throughout the book, she takes you to the school. She takes you to the Primal Woods. She takes you to the school. She takes you we go to Arizona. We go to a different woods, and then we go to a camp scare, and we go to all these different, and we even have to go to some spirit realm in the ether, and it's just all different. And I just love how it's been an adventure for me. That's what's so great. So great about being both the writer and the publisher a little bit, is that you get to be part of this process. And writers and artists already work closely together, but it's fun to get to be part of it at so many different levels, and it's a lot, but this has been magic for me anyway. So
Yeah, and I love the name. Wicked Tree Presses, I believe. Like,
oh, it's Wicked Tree Press, but yeah, I understand.
Press, okay.
Yeah,
I think on the press release I saw like some extra apostrophe or something after.
Oh yeah,
so I was like, does that mean multiple press? I guess. That's my bad on not reading right.
No, that's all right. I didn't want to. But yeah, it's Wicked Tree Press. I've always been obsessed with trees. And all my stories have a tendency to have a wicked or a natural connection, whether they're fantasy, science fiction, because I do prose as well, and I write screenplays as well. And so, but wicked, like trees and a little wickedness, I've always got to have that combination. So I've always been a little obsessed with that. So
yeah. That makes a ton of sense. And I think it goes with, kind of the way you kind of described like what this can relate to in terms like there's some Scooby-Doo in there with adventures and going by little camps, and you got the Wednesday Addams vibes, of course, which I got the second I started reading the synopsis. I was like, yep, she's in there somewhere, as she should be.
Well,
not actually there, but you know what I mean.
I was done with this book and I knew Wednesday was coming, obviously, and I binge watched Wednesday with my daughters, and I was just like, oh my God, it would be such a fun crossover, Nevermore Academy. And I mean, that's a fantasy, obviously, because you got Tim Burton and the Addams family. But yeah, my daughter's teacher is Adnams, and that gets me now. So, but I had to train myself to say that name, and now it interferes with Adams, which is really funny.
Of course.
Yeah. But no, I was watching, I'm like, oh God, it would be such a fun crossover episode to have Shell and Frank show up, and to just
it'd be perfect.
Yeah,
with
so fun.
With Uncle Fester and all the chaos. Yes.
Yeah. God, it's nothing not to love. When that got announced, I was like, oh, what? Wednesday, Tim Burton? No, we're all gonna hate that. That's not gonna be a huge hit. Everyone and their mom, is brother or sister, everyone's watching it.
Right. It's it's definitely a thing. One thing that you kind of spoke to with the story a bit, that you kind of expand on, throughout the actual graphic novel itself is, they are going around, Shell and her little team with Frank and Necro. They're going around trying to save monsters. But on top of that, there's a little more layers to that, and that they're actually trying to kind of help the monsters with their trauma too.
Yeah.
You mentioned these other characters like Medusa and things like that, they might have done terrible things, and there's trauma and things that relate to that they can probably use some help with. And when I read that, I was like, there's some Buffy vibes in here too, though, because that's all Buffy is you're trying to save everybody from all these monsters while saving yourself and each other from your own inner monsters.
Yes.
You just can't win.
I mean, I'm #1 Buffy fan. I was a huge Buffy fan. So when I did this, I was like, what are my favorite shows? In order of age, right? I'm like, Scooby-Doo, Buffy. Well, Buffy in my timeline, but I mean, Wednesday would go in between them age-wise, right? And and it just all the shows that I love. And I mean, I even really like Stranger Things, but they're not helping their inner monsters so much. They're dealing with something totally different. But no, I agree. That's what I loved about Buffy, was that there was just such a great group of working through all their drama and trauma. Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, season 2 alone, hello. Some of the most traumatic TV you can ever watch, in all honesty. I know. Oh my God. I can't remember. I don't want to spoil Buffy, but it's been a long time, guys. I will never forget when Angel, they have their night, and then he, just becomes... some of that cigarette. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, and then you have the big dramatic lightning, and he falls in the middle of this big light up circle in the rain.
Yeah,
holding his chest, and you're like, what is happening?
I know. Oh my God, it would be nice if he was a wonderful human being in real life. Anyways, no.
That's why, I mean, if you go to that place, just remember the end of season 2, when even though she's heartbroken that he's back in his body, she still puts a sword through him.
Yeah, so she still takes care of him. So
exactly. That is what we all can do.
Yeah, we can all put the sword through the villain if we must.
That's a t-shirt. There you go. You can keep that one, Jessica. It's all yours.
You. Oh, thanks, Lauren. Now I have to make a t-shirt. Oh my God.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Everybody needs t-shirts, especially for a school. You need like logos and things like that.
I got to do the t-shirts. I haven't got to the t-shirts yet, but they will happen. Don't worry, guys. It's happening.
So if you could, give the school like colors and a logo and like all that, like in one nice package, and say this is what the school is. Yeah. Where would you go with that? Or would you be like, absolutely not, we don't do that here?
Well, there's a school crest. So if we go on to the Kickstarter, or actually I probably have it because I like to have my stuff sitting here when I'm videoing. It's in a plastic bag though. I got to take it out of this terrible plastic bag. Evil.
That's okay. I can make you have the spotlight while you do that. Yeah. So
I have another artist I work with. He lives in Los Angeles. His name's Mark McTell. He does Pistol with Me, which is another comic. And I was talking to him about wanting a school crest for our first Kickstarter campaign and just in general. So we created this pin, and loosely inspired by other school crests and things like that, but it's its own thing. It's got the vines and the from the primal woods around it. Necro is in the middle. You'll see the triple. I can't do this, but triple moon goddess and the pink. That's Shell's sign. Next to in the green is obviously the Gorgon Medusa. Then you go down and you see Frank's hand and the lightning bolt. That's Frank, and then the wisp is Will, and he's like the forest wisp of the primal woods. So he kind of is the caretaker of the woods and does recruitment. And so those are the four main professors and the founders of the school, and Necro ties it all together in the middle. So I did do it. We do it here. I'm very into the school. I have an admission letter that I send everyone. It's a physical one. It's also in the, you get the pins available on the Kickstarter. In the first Kickstarter we did Mary Shelley's School for Monsters Origins, which we did this in October, and we had the prologue. I wanted to give people, I didn't know I was going to do Kickstarter for the hardcover. I wanted to kind of get people into the story and introduce them to it around Halloween. I was kind of spontaneous, and I never done a Kickstarter. I really was. I never done a Kickstarter. I've been part of them because of anthologies. I'm a huge backer. I just follow everybody. And I was like, I'm going to do it, but I don't want to do a big one first. So I did the smaller one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I just get into all I love a monster school. I love a magic school. I love any kind of school that you get taken to get trained. I mean, and my kids are of the age that I read a lot of these books with them still. So I do a lot of market research on accident. And so I do enjoy a school, and I like the whole pomp and circumstance of it. So in this one, I send a physical one out, but there is a letter that each person gets when they get the book that you are now admitted into the school, and it kind of tells you about what it's all about, and like a welcome letter you'd get in college or whatever. And so I wish I could, just because it's like a lot of, right now in the first book, you probably noticed that there's not a ton of actual teaching right now. You're not in the classroom. I'm definitely focusing more on the X-Men component, where you go off on the missions and go find the mutant or monster that is missing or needs help or whatever you have to do to save the world. And come back.
You're saying all the right words, Jessica. Yes, Buffy, X-Men, like.
Well, I'm a huge nerd, and so in a good way. I love nerds. I loved all that stuff since I was little, and as a teenager, and God, Buffy was teenager college. So I just dated myself. But anyway, so the, and eventually I do want to get more into the school, but I am very fixated more on the school being a place that they come to, but then they leave a lot to go rescue monsters. So they're not always we're not at the school a ton. That is true. So if you want to hang out at a school a ton, we might not do that.
No, but I think that's fair because I think it's important to build your world and your characters more than anything. So to me, it just sounds like you're building the characters and the world, because those are the strong components for you. And I agree. Like, those are my favorite things in a story. The school stuff you can throw in like a couple volumes from now if you want to. Even then, we'll be fine.
Well, and you want to introduce, like, part of what's going to happen in books to come is that you're introducing more of the students so that you can have like, because at first you're starting with the professors, really, even though they're young, because they're all immortal and they're kind of these immortal teenagers. They are the ones running the school, but they're still all have all their, you know, drama and stuff, because they haven't, I mean, the Shell never got to grow up. Like, she's in a, you know, an eternal preteen, basically. You know, she's like 13, 14 years old and is just stuck there. So, but yeah,
I would not want to be stuck at that age, I can tell you that.
No, and I, you know, if we ever did a show, she'd probably be 16, just not to make her suffer so much. But
I mean, who wants to watch middle school all the time either? Like, at some point, there's a line we all just give up on.
No, if you do a show, you have to do 16, 17. You can't, you don't do a middle school thing. But yeah. But for me, the show, I think that age, that 12 to 13 age is just that magic time. It's really hard, but there's a lot of magic in it and there's a lot of power in it. And I think as a writer, it's a time I try to speak to young people. I think it's a place where I think a lot of authors got me, you know, at that age. I was like, I need these things. Like, you needed your things. You had to have the books you liked. If you were a reader, you had to identify with these things. And so I think it's important.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And honestly, like, thank you for doing that, because it can't be me reliving my middle school trauma to help someone else out, but someone can do it, and you are clearly the one to thank.
Well, we don't talk about middle school ever in this, not like, because this is a school for monsters and everyone is 200 years. Everyone's 200 plus years old, so
they're dealing with monsters and trauma, you know, but it's not the same as middle school, guys.
No, this school is definitely for immortal creatures. So that's not a middle school, but they're at that age. So that's
where I read it and wish I was there with them still. Yeah. So, because they got the supernatural stuff that instantly makes it more enjoyable and makes me think it's a great middle school that's not a middle school.
Yeah. And they're learning a lot cooler things than we learned in middle school. When we do get to their classes, they are very fun.
Right? Yeah. That's always a fun thing too. Like, once you do get the school element in, is playing with like what classes would you enjoy and what wouldn't you? And
and what are you trying to teach these monsters that you have rescued that maybe have been around longer than you, which is even more interesting. Like, so we've got we've hit a lot of stretch goals already. I
was looking at this one. This is a digital print by Anna Weischek. It's digitally signed by her, and there are apparently 50 comic-sized metal prints that you can add on, which, my God, that would be glorious in metal.
It is really, you can, and we go down a little bit, there's a video, and you can kind of see the mock-up, because, it's right there. And it will look pretty much like that, because I did another one. She sent me this. This is like, we're designing a book plate because part of the, we wanted to sign this one. So we're both gonna sign this book plate. It's a vinyl sticker book plate that you can just keep, or you can stick it into the inside of your book, like old school, you know, do this if you want. Just in case some people don't know what they are. So I'd like to tell them, and so this version of it, you'll notice, has a little frame here. And so the early bird special, which is long gone, and like the $60 tier, includes this plate. This is not metal. This is vinyl. Sorry, guys. And we are both signing it. So I'm getting them on Monday. They're supposed to get here. I'm signing them all, and then I'm mailing them to Poland, and she's going to sign them all, because it's really the only way we can do it. Because I just shipped 10 books to Poland, and it was not a joke. It's not for the weak. It's not for the weak, guys. When they tell you how much it costs.
I've got 10 heart attacks at once.
I was like, what? Why? Okay. So we did, she designed this, and it was so gorgeous. And I immediately said, we got to do a metal print because we did a metal print in the first, this is the metal print we did for Origins.
Pretty.
And they're playing D&D and a little bit of magic. There's all kinds of stuff going on in this, but they're playing D&D. They're having game night, and Necro's like he's running everything. And this was another thing where she did this for something else, and then I was like, oh, we got to do a metal print. And then when she sent me this, I felt the same way with these colors, and I was like, oh, I got to do another one. And so we took off the frame, and she put more detail on for the illustration that you get. So one of the stretch goals is you get the digital. Everyone gets the digital print of the with her signature. But if you want, you can upgrade and go get the metal print. And there will only be 50 of them. I only did 25 of this one, and we only have this one. You can do an add-on as well. We only have 2 left. So
wow,
yeah, they were like they went pretty fast. Yeah, so I don't know. I did double this time because I just think people like them at conventions. I bring them to conventions and they go pretty. Yeah. So
people like the shiny things, and even though we have no money, we think we spend money at cons.
Yeah, you're having a good time. You should, and it's the best place to spend money because you're supporting. It's going directly to the creators, which we were talking about, which I think is really important. So when you can buy something directly from a creator, it's a writer, an artist, whatever. It's always worthwhile. Yeah. Money well spent. You're making the world better, not worse, with your habit.
Well, and it saves money all around too for you because you're like, oh, it's gonna cost more, but in the end, it does save you, and it helps the creator way more than buying from a big publisher. So
for sure. I mean, the big ones get me every once in a while too, though. Darn it.
I mean, listen, I'm the big X-Men fan, so Marvel gets me. At the end of the day, they will get me, and
they got you. That's okay. That's okay. Image gets me. Image isn't one of the 2 big ones though, but yeah, I mean, it's gotten so big.
It's a big 3 now. I have a whole thing with Image. I've had a whole thing.
So they're in the 3. Yeah.
Yeah, big 3.
Yeah, they are. They at least are a little creator owned and stuff. But yeah, it's I have a problem with supernatural stories, and they always have a lot of good ones.
Good supernatural, good horror. That is kind of Image's specialty.
And that's kind of me. So I laugh when I look at my shelf, and I'm like, oh my god, I should have stock. I should really have stock.
Just the Image shelf. Oops.
I know what just happened, but I also have lots of indie creators too. So.
Yeah.
And
I have lots of stuff on my shelf that I have a whole row on my shelf that's just indies, and then I have boxes. They fill up way quicker than my Marvel, so I hope you guys take that to heart. You guys fill my boxes quicker than Marvel.
Oh, now you have to make a shirt. But that might go wrong. That shirt could go wrong.
It could. And that's probably all the more reason to do it and almost never wear it, but only wear it to cons.
Yeah, it's a good con shirt because it can just be read 2 ways, and so you're
people can handle it there.
Yeah, they can handle that kind of stuff. This little guy
the crest that you were showing earlier, but this is a sticker, I think.
Well, when we hit 6K, it was a stretch goal. And we had done a hologram. We did a school crest sticker in the last campaign, but we did a hologram this time. So this one these are all printed. Mark dropped them off. It's hard to see.
Ooh.
Like it does do the hologrammy thing. You can kind of see it.
Yeah, I can see a bit of
there you go. Yeah. So Mark also does a lot of he'll actually make stickers and buttons and things like that, as well as being the guy who designed it. So he's pretty talented guy. So he'll usually do a small run for my Kickstarters. So he does those stickers. So they're here and ready to go. They're done. It took like 5 days. It was amazing.
I love it. That's what I like to hear the most with Kickstarters. It's ready to go, guys.
Yep.
We did hard work. Now we just need some money to give you the book.
Oh no, the only thing I'm stressed about, and I'm not that stressed, is just these have to go to Poland and come back. And other than that, we're pretty good.
Yep.
We're pretty good.
That's the hard thing. If only there's a way to be able to digitally send something for someone to sign, but then they physically sign it. There's just you just can't do that.
No, and I was originally going to print them in Poland, and then she would send it. That might have made more sense, but it just didn't. That's not what we did. So anyway, and yeah, we've unlocked a couple more stretch goals, but those are all like, you get a copy of the script, process art, you get a Forever Home, you get a copy of that was originally in Cthulhu. Yeah, and here's our character. This is some of the back. This is actually in the comic. It's part of the back matter. And Yay. It's just our original character designs. You've got Medusa, Frank, you got the school crest, Will, and Necro. Yeah. And then
they look so good. Like,
they're so cute. And that's like a really great combo because it's like, you know, you've got my words, you've got Anna's art, her original character designs, and then you have Metal Ninja Studios book design, you know. And so it just took that, all three of us, to make that page snap and look good. So that's what you need you need a team.
And we didn't even talk about Edith Sharp, who's one of the tech genius villains, which she looks like a Scooby-Doo villain. I absolutely adore that.
My villains are a little like the way I want them to be, and I think the way Anna obviously wants them to be too, is like, you know, a little Scooby-Doo. We want them to be a little Scooby-Doo. But they are going to reveal more depth as we go. Like, and I can't really ruin Edith Sharp's story, so I'm not going to get that into it. But she is a very savvy woman, top of her game. She runs Camp Scare, which is a horror video game company. And they have, their top game is out. And their top game is Camp Scare. And she wants to have the scariest video game in the market. So she has figured out a way, or maybe, I'm not going to say, she's gotten some power to be able to capture spirits or monsters and actually put them in her video game. And so she has trapped La Llorona in the video game. But it's like beta, and they're testing it, and the children are actually, that are playing it and get to the final round, which is a Bloody Mary round, you know, the mirror and the stuff, and they are going missing when they confront the final villain, because they're coming in contact with La Llorona, and that's kind of her thing.
Ooh, that's like some Spy Kids stuff there.
Yeah. So
I love that.
I do like to mold a lot of what Dr. M is about too. Is, you know, he's one of these old 200, you know, Industrial Revolution villains, you know, like molding like the monster elements, the human elements with technology. And he's very much like that kind of mad scientist who starts putting things together. And
right.
So like, that's like a lot of the, like with the putting, like the virtual world we all play in, the AI world we all play in so much. And then with like the monsters and the humanity all kind of blending together into this, also the ether and the spirit realm. Like the boundaries are getting very, you know, thin. They're not like, and that's very much like what's happening in this story. Is there's just not a lot of, we're crossing a lot of barriers and figuring out how to do that.
Yeah, there was a cool quote you had in the press release, or a press release, I guess, for this, where you said the people holding the pitchforks are almost always the real monsters, and those pitchforks don't seem so far away anymore. And I just thought that was like one that was so well said or written. You know, whether it said that it was written or written first, that was just well said, and like it's just a cool theme to put underneath everything else that's happening here, because you can read this as just a fun, adventurous story. You can dig deeper into it. Like, it just, there's so many perspectives you can take from this. I just wanted to commend you really highly for that.
Well, thank you. I like that quote too. That was a I've said a version of that
t-shirt too.
What? That's a t-shirt. I've said versions of that quote. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has, but it's like, I think when I was a child, I used to watch a lot of like old black and white horror, old black and white sci-fi, and read the old stuff. And I think even when I was young, I always felt more for the monster, because I was like, what is wrong with, especially in Frankenstein, I was like, and that was probably from the movie more than the book, you know, I was like, what is wrong with this entire village? Like, what is going on? Like, when I would always get so scared in movies when all the humans would start to band together and get angry. I'm like, oh no, it's happening.
Here they go. They're becoming way worse than the thing they think that is bad.
They're like
thing.
trying to protect us from this evil, and it's just them. That's the terrifying thing. And the mob. And I can't stand the mob, and the pitchforks and the the righteousness and the idea. I don't like when people try to make me afraid of something. I'm instantly always suspicious. I'm like, why do you want me to be afraid of this so badly? Like, why is it important for you that I fear this or I don't? And it's probably because I was raised religiously and I was like, no. So, I mean, and I'm not against religion, but I'm against like the way it gets weaponized. And so for partially that is, and so I've just always really felt more for the monster in these stories. And obviously behind me, this isn't a monster so much, but I guess it is. King Kong is, of course, the 1920s. Like, this is not which one is this? This is the Jeff Bridges one, but I have a 1920s one out in my other hallway. I watched that, I think it was 5, and I was just like, never forgot it. And I watched it many times after that. And it's just something about how we are the monsters, and that's what good horror should be about. And then for me, that's why the school is like, you know, playing with those ideas, like who's the real monster and why, and like, is it okay to have failings and have things that you've done that were wrong or have trauma or whatever, but does that make you a monster? Does that make you evil? I mean, I'm trying to be very separate, evil versus monsters, because none of the monsters in my story are evil or bad. They're just figuring. I mean, some of them are dangerous, but
they're just going through life, man.
They're going through life. They are dangerous. They are all very dangerous, actually. And in that, there's hints of that in the story. They've all hurt people in one way or another, and you will learn that because being a monster is not easy. You have these really supernatural abilities, and so yeah. I mean, even Medusa's not unscathed. There's hints that she has hurt another monster, which we'll get more into eventually. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just went off on some crazy pitchfork thing.
I don't blame you. I mean, that's the thing too. Like often it's like in these films and TV and stories where you have they're named after the monsters. They're supposed to be about the monsters, but they always give a human story that none of us care about. And I get to the point where I'm like, I think they're doing it because they expect me to empathize with the human, but I empathize with the monster. I'm ready to watch the monster get rid of them.
Yes. You're like
why are the humans here? Go away.
It's so true. I do feel I'm trying to think if I've ever watched a monster movie where I'm like, don't partially just want the monster to win. And that probably, I mean, I just remember, what was it? Grendel, Beowulf, you read that, you know, not to get even more literary, but I just was like, oh my God, just go monsters. Like, what? Go take care of those guys. They're terrible. They're all terrible. And then the mom is involved, which I love. The monster mom's involved. And yeah, so it's like, anyway. And Grendel, if I make it to so many books, Grendel's mother will make an appearance. That is a promise. But that's a few books away. So yeah, I don't know if we
have to make that happen, everybody.
Yeah, gotta make it happen.
Every single one of these.
Yeah, no, this has been a real treat because I do write some real serious stuff sometimes, and this is serious, but it's been nice to just make some jokes and get lighthearted, and even though it's dark, it's been a real nice place to exist. So I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got the digital copy of it, obviously, which in case you guys hadn't caught on for some reason, this is a hardcover original graphic novel, so it's nice and big and pretty. She's already got them ready to come to all of us. So you don't have to wait forever to get your books unless the postal service messes up or something. So
they won't do that. They are so good.
Jessica has her monsters on staff at her post office.
They will not mess it up. They will take care of it. The harpies are flying.
That would be, I would love to have that as my post office.
It'd be scary. You just throw up your package. You're like, please don't kill me.
Everybody just like mails digital. Nobody does the post office.
Legit, every single post office has that one employee that is the harpy that you are so afraid of. And
it's true.
And when I walk in and that person is there, I'm like, I'm gonna come back later because you are too scary. And you play
At least it's not the DMV where everybody is scary there, except like that one really nice person that's never there when you're there, and you're like, come on.
You never get the nice one. Yeah, get the overworked, upset one. Yep.
I got the nice one once, and that was like back in high school.
And you're still talking about it.
He was so nice. He went out of his way to make sure my picture looked great. The last person I had to take my picture kept telling me to tilt my chin down, and now my picture on my driver's license, I look like a horror girl. Like I look like one of those creepy I hate it so much. You're like, and it's that guy's fault because he was so grumpy and for some reason wanted to ruin my life too.
Yeah, he's taking you down. He's like, no one's having a good picture today. No, that's funny. Really I'm sorry. The only thing you have is that we all have bad ones, so we're all like in it together.
I mean, at least I can warn people and just say, look, I'm so sorry. I look like one of those children in a horror film. So if you're terrified for half a second, just don't be surprised. And
then, like, if you're getting pulled over, you could be like, I am one of those horror characters in the movie. And if you give me a ticket, I will see you tonight. And I look just like that.
Hopefully I don't ever have to do that, but if I do, I'll remember it. And I will thank Jessica specifically.
And when you're in jail, after you threaten the police officer.
I'll be like, I need my one call. I need to call Jessica. They're going to be like, who's Jessica? I'm like, don't worry about it.
She's coming, and there's a whole school behind her.
Do you think nowadays they could start giving people like one like legal tweet or something? Like, is your one phone call dated now? Like, do you get your one Facebook or Twitter or something? I don't know.
You can tweet once, and everyone shows. I guess that's whoever you are, how much that would do if you could. Well, tweeting would be good because at least everyone you know would get the message.
Yeah,
and then one phone call, if no one's home, you're like screwed. You just left a message, and
that's what I hate about that too. You just can't win. You get one call and. Some people don't even check not even most, but at least half people nowadays don't check their voicemails. So you're just screwed. And they don't answer their phones. They want text only.
Yeah. You have to, it's gotta be one text because one voicemail, you could be really screwed. Like it could be your like mom and they might not even come get you for like 5 days.
I mean, why is that only one? Why do you get one call or like one anything? It should be like 3 because you can miss people. Like you need some opportunity.
We're going to need to dig into this and we're going to have to find out if you actually get more than one chance or if it's just, that's it. One person.
I don't you can always do this. We're have to dig in. This is going to be the next side podcast I do is we're going to dig in.
I come back with my notebook. I'm like, I found out that you actually get 3 chances. For good behavior. You have to be good.
You get one call. If that doesn't work, you get one tweet. If that doesn't work, you get one text message. And then you're done.
Yeah. Then you just don't have anyone. And they're like, we just keep you here now to work because the world doesn't need you, obviously.
God, it's real awful.
It gets real dark. It gets real dark in jail, guys. Don't go there. If you can help it.
Don't go unless you have a monster to break you out. Then it's your life. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a monster, that's different. But not just your inner monster, don't bring your inner monster to jail. There's
too many. Just end up staying longer.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them already there. They're fighting each other. Well, now I want to. Yeah, okay, good.
Oh no, please continue. I was just going to transition from. Well, maybe we can figure out one day as these characters get older how they go from a school to visiting a jail for a moment. But we don't have to do that.
No, we do. We should probably figure out who would they rescue from jail? Let's see.
That's a good question. Which monster would go to jail instead of like them automatically trying to shoot it or something awful?
Yeah, have to be like incognito. Who would it be? I'm trying to think. You always think of like a werewolf monster kind of in jail. But
maybe it's a ghost. You can't shoot a ghost.
Yeah. Can you put handcuffs on a ghost? I don't know.
And like an electrical field, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. I like the idea of them having to break into a prison. I just don't know what it is yet.
Well, there you go. Save that, because that could be a book. You're welcome to keep the idea.
Mary Shelley goes to jail.
I love it. I would watch it too. Make that happen.
It's a documentary.
Oh my god!
Exercising all the inner demons of the I don't know, solitary confinement situation. I'm convinced though in solitary cells there's probably a monster in there because that's just so horrific. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think of like Solomon Grundy, even though I don't think he's horrific. The poor guy always gets thrown because he's giant and terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's doing his best. He's really trying to do his best, guys.
That's all we can ask. All these creatures do their best, and people.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, so this Kickstarter, you've already been doing so well. You're at a little over 8,000 of your 4,000 goal. But as some people do know and others don't know, a lot of times creators will put their fund goal a lot smaller than what they actually need to get fully funded to be able to pay everybody, including themselves. So the more you guys watching this later can back it and support it and help get the stretch goals for yourselves, the more you're also actually supporting the creators and making more volumes even after 2 hopefully happen.
Yes. And that's exactly what I do usually is I will shoot for the amount that I need to get the books in your hand with extras that I want to provide for you. And then when I hit that goal, I know I can send everyone their books. They're going to get their extra cool stuff and I'm going to be able to make it all. And then you have a secondary goal for sure. Like the more books that you sell, you guys get the books, which is great, and get the story out there. But it does help with recouping the production cost and then making it easier to produce the next book, because it does all come out of the, Wicked Tree Press, which is an indie. It's not a big one. It's me and a few other people.
It's a nice tree, okay?
Yeah, it's got a nice tree. We all hang out in it. It's a tree house, and it's wicked.
Wicked dude.
Yeah, not like Boston, or it's not wicked cool like that. But yeah, I haven't even been to Boston, but one day. I know it's not
know. Boston sounds small and terrifying, so I don't know, man. Maybe one day.
I haven't been. And also, what was that podcast with that murder? Was that Serial? No, that wasn't Boston. That was Baltimore. Sorry. Mixing them up. Just beasts. Sorry, Boston. Sorry.
I was going to say, you're about to make everyone from Boston very angry.
My friends live in Boston. I want to go. I just never gone, so don't get mad. I'll even go to Baltimore. I'd probably go visit all those spots.
You're just too busy in your tree. It's okay. You have tree things to do.
I do tree stuff.
Trees and comics. What more do you need?
Not much. Just a little love. And coffee.
Thank you so much for. Oh God, coffee.
Yeah.
Wait,
sorry.
No, that's comics, coffee. I'm trying to think if there's a third C to go with that, but I can't think of one yet. I'll have to get back to you because that could be a T-shirt too.
Yeah, but not cocaine. We don't want to do that. Not that one.
We already talked about that with the Death Drop Drag Assassin.
Oh, really?
we were joking about that. David Hazan and Alex Moore, who we're delighted to have on here as well. There's a lot of jokes about cocaine at the start of that.
It's it's candy, isn't it? I mean, candy's the next thing. It's comics, coffee,
that
and
works.
Candy.
Comics, coffee, and candy. Candy. There's a way to put that in perfect order.
Someone probably already. We'll find it.
We'll find you.
We'll find your T-shirt that you have online somewhere. In fact, an AI is making that T-shirt right now because we're talking about it, and we'll be selling it.
AIs are terrifying. Man, I was watching some TikTok the other day, how basically half of the world's entire money is controlled by AI, and they were actually this was legit. And I was watching, I was like, holy crap, this is, and I was like, I'm not surprised, and I'm still terrified.
Yeah. No, if you watch, I have this I pulled out this book I got 10 years ago that I started to read, which was all about super intelligence taking us over. And I'm like, oh, maybe I better actually read that book since it's happening. I need to figure out what's happening. But yeah, it is terrifying when you really start to realize how much it already runs certain things, and companies have already given it a certain amount of control. And then just as it continues, and then when you hear these guys at the top of their field talking about how quickly it will evolve as we teach it, and that it's learning from us is actually the most terrifying part. As back to the pitchforks, I find that frightening because I just think about what the internet is feeding these things, what it's pulling from, and it's pulling from all the databases about us. And I'm like, oh, we are not nice on the internet. We're our worst selves on the internet. And I hope they're pulling from some more but it's, it comes to the pitchforks, and it's just which side's the AI gonna think is actually the good and the bad is also interesting to me.
I mean, that's a great point in terms of people are like, but it's learning from us. Isn't that great? And it's but we're flawed and horrible. We do a lot of wonderful things as humans. We also do a ton of horrible things. And so that's a great concern you bring up. It's is it really going, even if it learns both the wonderful and the terrible things, if it does the best great thing and it does that a human has done, and it does the worst thing a human's ever done, that doesn't balance out still. The worst thing is like so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we really like to take it to the level when we do the worst. Like some reason our best is like, and then our worst is like, we're gonna blow up half the country. You know, it's like, yeah. So hopefully it gets it right, since it's gonna be our overlord one day. So we just
don't learn. Like, how are we not learning from literally everything that you and some of your creatives are creating? Like, how are we doing the thing that, you know, these companies are like, wow, we need more money, but we're not going to learn from the things that made us money. We're just going to, how?
I don't know. Cause like some of us learn but we're not in charge. That's usually what happens. I think people forget what they learned so they could get what they want. And that's the main problem. Cause they want to, we don't want to look at what stops us from getting what we want. And I think that's one of humanity's biggest flaws is we don't, the blinders we put on, for sure.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I completely agree. But the good news is that I don't have any blinders on how great this great book you've written. So I'm thrilled about that, because you know how like sometimes like there's this thing where like you see or you hear something or whatever, like music, a book, a show, whatever. And at first you're like, this is garbage, or you just don't like it. You don't get it. So you're like, whatever. But then later you might come back to it years later, months, whatever it is. And you're like, how did I miss this? Why didn't I like this? Why didn't I see it before?
Yeah, for sure. I do that a lot. I notice my daughter does that a lot. She goes, I don't like this. I go, you haven't really tried it. Go try it.
And sometimes, it's kind of like food. It's an acquired taste with some things. You have to let it. You have to let it sit a while. Like I find that a lot with music for me. There's a lot of music that I like instantly, but then I get tired of it very quickly. And the stuff that takes a little while for me to enjoy, once I do enjoy it, I tend to enjoy it a lot longer or more consistently than the stuff I instantly like. That's so weird.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I do notice that. Yep, you're right about that. I had to think through I was going through all my different music people in my head.
All at once.
It was very chaotic up there for a minute, but yeah.
Oh, well, I can imagine it's chaos almost always up there, but you wear it well, and clearly you make great things out of it, so I'm thankful.
Okay, well, thank you. That's nice.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you want to share with us about this Kickstarter other than it is up right now? It ends on June 20th. It's all ages, so people can read it themselves. You can get it for your kids. Anybody can read this.
I mean, yeah, the one thing I'd like to share about this, if this isn't necessarily your thing, but you think, wow, this book sounds amazing, this is an excellent gift. I do have a tier. It's called the Monster School Gift, and it comes all wrapped. It's beautiful. It comes with a ton of things, and it comes with a letter that is from Shell, but I write it, and it has a special spell that's just for that person, and it's just like a real empowering letter that I send to them. And it's gift wrapped. The shipping's included, and you can like send the message that you want, and I will send it. I won't send it like years later, but if it's the birthday's like a month later, we can, talk about that. So I like that tier a lot. I also do a ton of workshops with young people from 4th grade to 12th grade. So since the beginning of May, I did a series of spring workshops. And it was great because we talk about what it takes to make a comic, how to write it, how to work with different professionals, and the whole process. And then luckily I worked with like over 300 kids in the last month and a half. And thanks to Russell Nolte over at Wannabe Press, he had donated a ton of Cthulhu's Hard to Spell Battle Royale hardcover anthologies. So I was able to give each one of the kids an anthology, and then we went through that, and that became part of the lesson as well, and they get to take it home. And that's just a game changer when you work with young people. I do those workshops for free in schools that can't afford to have them. And what I do is I usually have a tier or add-ons. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can do a tier that donates books to those workshops. But yeah, so those are like tiers for if this isn't your jam, you're more like into martial art comics or, adult comics, but you have a person in your life you think would enjoy it, you can send a gift. You can also don't have to do the big gift. You could always just send the book. But I do think all the kids that I've had put this book in their hand and they have seen it has been a big hit. So I do feel very confident that young people do like this, and all the way up to being teenagers, because I've worked with all the ages from 4th to 18, 4th grade to 12th grade. So it has been going. Yeah. So, and that's my market research, I guess. But that's just something I've always done, is I've done youth programming. So that's one of the things I do.
No, that's amazing. It's always really great to hear that, because every creator does what they can and does what works best for them. But it's always really cool to hear about directly giving back in that way, especially with stories that are open or geared to children. I think that's so important. And kind of like you said, it really speaks to, knowing your audience and taking the time and the care to do it, rather than just being like, oh, but I know kids, or I have my own kids, so I know kids. Like, yeah, you can have your own kids, but do you know kids? So I think that's so cool. And being a former teacher myself, I know how much those kids or those teachers really appreciate that. Like, it must mean the entire world to them.
Oh, we have a blast. We've had so much, and the teachers have had a blast. The kids, we just had a good time. Like, I can't do them all the time, but when I do them, I really enjoy them. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. Well, plug yourself away, Jessica. Where can people find you and keep up with everything you're doing and, the future volume and hopefully more volumes of this?
The best place right now to follow me is probably Wicked Tree Press, both on Instagram and on Facebook. I am on Twitter. You can find me. I want to say Jessica Maison Judd. I'm the worst at remembering my Twitter. I'm not there so much that's the best place. And then if you are a newsletter person, you can go to wickedtreepress.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can check out kind of what I have going on. I also do I have a Plastic Girl. I have a science fiction YA sci-fi trilogy that's about the post-climate apocalypse and deals with a lot. I'm not going to pitch that right now, but I'm like that. I'm not ready to go into that, but I do love it, obviously. And I have other books and things like that I'm doing, so you can check it out.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah. And just like the Kickstarter link will be below in the description. So while y'all have been watching this, you can obviously click like 5 or 6 times and you've got an amazing book and hopefully some other free stuff and other goodies. So just click and see what happens. Sometimes, I just want to hear people play roulette one day and see what they pick. I know where you don't all have money like that, but you can change it until you get something that's affordable. Like, have some fun. And all her links will also be below the stuff she just said, including the Twitter that she can't completely remember.
I know, it's terrible. I'm like, what is my Twitter? I was going to
I only remember mine because I made it a specific thing. So it's like the same for everything, thank God.
It's smart. I should change mine. No, it's Jessie Star Judd is what it is, because it doesn't even have Mason. It doesn't even have Mason in it. It's really confusing. So,
how many other Jessica Masons are there out there? Are there a bunch more? Is it like?
I don't. There's probably a couple of us. I think I'm related to one of them. So yeah,
what?
Yeah. But this one's the name I write under, and is my maiden name, and then Star is my middle name, and Judd is my married name. So it's all like over the place. But yeah, so.
I was gonna say, you just get to have fun with your names. That's awesome.
All kinds of names. I got the Star middle name. I got the crazy hippie parents, and you got all that stuff going on. So,
that's the best, man. Living life from the start.
From the start. Gonna be no pressure. Your middle name's Star. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
You're either gonna be a star, or you're gonna work at a cocktail lounge or something. Those are your. It's a nice version of the Star.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. It has been so great having you on. So great to chat about so many things. Hopefully once volume 2 comes out or is getting ready to come out, we can have you back, because I want to hear more about this school all the time.
All right, cool. I'd love that.
Yes. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody at home. Obviously, again, all her links will be below, including the Kickstarter. So be sure to click and have some fun. Be sure to like, share this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow, which therefore helps us do what we like to do, which is help indie creators like Jessica grow. So help us do that. It's always great to do. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time in the nerdy neighborhood.